Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. Today's video is going to be another spoiler season video where I get to reveal a brand new card from the upcoming Murders at Karlov Manor set. So, let's get into it. I want to start this off by thanking all of y'all at Webcore Games for sending me the image of this card so that I could go ahead and make the spoiler for the community. I very much appreciate being a part of the spoiler season, so thank you very much for sending this to me. Ill-Timed Explosion is going to be a new rare spell introduced in the Murders at Karlov Manor, and it has quite a lot of nuance and potential power hidden into it. It's a 12 mana spell. It's got both blue and red in the color identity, and it reads, discard the last 3 cards from your hand, then draw 4 cards. For each spell card discarded this way, deal damage to your opponent's planeswalker equal to that card's base mana cost. Now, this immediately struck me as a card that could have a very high ceiling in terms of how much damage it could do. We happen to have a lot of very high mana cost spells that are very frequent in the meta right now. We've got things like Tempt with Discovery, we've got Golden Wish, we've got Meeting of the Five. We've got a bunch of cards like that that are all in that sort of like 20 plus mana, even a bunch of cards in the whole like 15 plus mana range that are all going to be very effective that we could run with this card. And so if we just take a quick moment and consider the use of this card while you have 3 Tempt with Discoveries in your hand, and you potentially discard those 3 Tempt with Discoveries with the Ill-Timed Explosion, then you're just going to, boom, hit your opponent for 75 damage directly. We don't have any other spell cards that really burn like this thing does in Standard right now, and so I could definitely see some really fun decks that you could make with this card that you purposefully discard some higher cost spells in order to burn your opponent to death. We have some other really cool cards that are going to pair with this, like Fire Servant or Sulfim, Mayhem Dominus, which will wind up doubling the power of one of your spells. So you play Ill-Timed Explosion, you wind up discarding those cards from your hand, and if you have, say, Fire Servant down, which reads, when you cast a spell, if it would deal damage, deal that much damage again to the same target, then you'll wind up doubling the damage that Ill-Timed Explosion does. And then Sulfim has basically the same effect, reading when a spell you control deals damage to an opposing target, deal that much damage to the target. So if you wind up having both of, say, Fire Servant and Sulfim down, then you're going to do times 3 damage, because it isn't something that, right, they don't stack on top of each other. They're both their own individual triggers. But either way, that's a great way to kill your opponent with a single cast of the card. And so if you were to, say, discard 3 Meetings of the Five, right? Then 3 Meetings of the Five would be 60 damage. With a Fire Servant, that becomes 120. And with Sulfim and the Fire Servant, that becomes 180, which is good enough to kill any Planeswalker in the game. If you were to then try and influence that in some other way, you could take a look at some Planeswalkers that currently exist in the game, which you could use to make things kind of fun, like Chandra, Heart of Fire, which is a Planeswalker that I never see, but nonetheless would be a really cool pairing with this card. The third ability on Chandra, Heart of Fire is going to make it so that you fetch up to the first 6 different spells from your library and destroy 15 non-red gems. So let's say that you're running Ill-Timed Explosion in your deck, and then you've got 3 other spells, so 4 total spells. So you're running that with, say, something like Meeting of the Five, as that's going to be a 20 mana card. You're running maybe Galvanic Iteration, because that is a very viable 15 mana card that's going to copy spells and give you additional copies of those spells, which you could also use to discard with the Ill-Timed Explosion. And let's throw in the third one, Hit the Motherlode, which is another really good card, actually. It's a 14 mana card that's going to cause you to discover twice and create gold tokens, which you could use to fish for the cards you wanted. But nonetheless, you use Chandra, Heart of Fire's third ability, you get your 4 spells. Maybe you wind up destroying enough gems so that the Ill-Timed Explosion has enough mana to cast right then and there. And then you've got yourself a 20 mana, a 15 mana, and a 14 mana card in your hand that are going to be discarded to the Ill-Timed Explosion for 49 damage to the opponent's face. And since Chandra's red, you guessed it, we could throw the Fire Servant and or Sulfim in the deck for with just one of them being down, boom, 98 damage to the face just for using Chandra's ultimate, or both of them down for doing 147 damage to the face, and lo and behold, that's enough to kill any Planeswalker in the game. So A lot of really cool things you can do with this card. I'm definitely going to want to try this out when it comes out. Let me know if there's anything that you guys are seeing that I'm not seeing with this card, but I feel like there's a tremendous potential for damage with this thing. Even if you wind up casting it just to filter your hand a little bit, I feel like it's a decent card. It's definitely going to be a lot easier to go off with something like Rawl, who's going to help you filter with the first ability anyways, but definitely a cool card, definitely something that we haven't seen very much of in Puzzle Quest, and definitely something that will be fun to tinker with as one spell kills. Sounds pretty fun. It's definitely something that you're going to have to tinker with and make happen, so it's not like Greg's going to do it to you, but, you know, exciting, exciting. So let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if there's any other combinations that you all are seeing that I didn't mention here. Very, very cool card. Thank you again, Webcore, for keeping me a part of the whole spoiler season. I've been having a lot of fun with this. I hope you all have too. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.